In ancient times, the powers of the East kept a watchful eye on the land of Israel. Persia, corresponding to modern-day Iran, was sometimes a friend, yet often an enemy of Israel. In the Bible, Daniel predicted the influence of Eastern kings over the fate of Israel. King Cyrus allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem from captivity and rebuild their city. However, not every ruler was benevolent. Persian kings occasionally opposed Israel with force. Prophet Jeremiah warned of Eastern powers attacking Israel and the dangers that lay ahead. Ezekiel 38:39 mentions Gog and Magog, often interpreted as Iran and its allies. These prophecies illustrate the power of Israel's enemies in the last days. Israel consistently fought to defend its land and preserve its faith and heritage. Some rulers enacted harsh policies against the Jews and seized their lands. Eastern empires frequently saw Israel's religious and political independence as a threat. Historical wars, conspiracies, and enmities are repeatedly recorded throughout the Bible. Biblical prophets continuously encouraged the people to trust in God's divine plan. Persian rulers formed military alliances against Israel on multiple occasions. Often, these powers opposed Israel for religious, political, or economic reasons. The strategies of kings were recorded in the Bible to show Israel's destiny. Daniel's visions depicted Eastern powers exerting influence over the land of Israel. Each attack and conspiracy tested Israel's faith, endurance, and spiritual resilience. Biblical enmity was not merely military, but also spiritual, ethical, and political. Figures like Cyrus occasionally aided Israel, even amid hostile circumstances. Biblical accounts of Israel's enemies still provide guidance and lessons today. Eastern empires consistently eyed Israel's land, wealth, and strategic importance. Several rulers tried to silence the prophets and undermine Israel's faith. Ezekiel and Jeremiah provide detailed descriptions of Israel's adversaries and conflicts. Israel maintained trust in God despite attacks, conspiracies, and overwhelming odds. The clash between Persia and Israel is woven into the fabric of biblical history. These conflicts became tests of spiritual strength, endurance, and faith. Daniel advised the Jews that Eastern powers would not always remain threats. Sometimes, hostility arose simply from desires for land and political control. At times, the Persian Empire even allowed the reconstruction of Jerusalem's temple. These historical conflicts validate Israel's destiny and the promises of God. Decisions of kings significantly impacted the protection and spiritual well-being of the people. Eastern powers in Israel were perpetually in trials of influence and dominance. Prophets continuously encouraged reliance on God amid threats from foreign powers. Persian hostility tested Israel's faith and perseverance throughout generations. Many attacks were motivated by political, religious, or economic considerations. Daniel and Ezekiel provide prophetic insight into these historical adversarial relations. Every attack and conspiracy was part of Israel's divine testing and destiny. Israel consistently upheld its spiritual principles despite adversity. Historical enmity strengthened people's moral, spiritual, and political resilience. Eastern powers in Israel played a constant game of influence and control. Kings' enmities served as lessons, cautionary tales, and moral examples. Cyrus and other supportive rulers sometimes mitigated the impact of hostility. Biblical narratives of enmity remain educational and inspirational even today. Israel preserved courage and faith amidst challenges posed by adversaries. Persian rulers' political and military hostility tested the nation's endurance. Prophets taught patience, trust, and reliance on God through all trials. These historical enmities illuminate challenges relevant even to contemporary conflicts. The land and faith of Israel always remained a top priority. Eastern powers repeatedly confronted Israel, creating tension and perpetual vigilance. Each enmity tested courage, resilience, and commitment to faith. Cyrus' support occasionally lessened the consequences of hostility against Israel. Biblical records clearly demonstrate the outcomes and lessons of conflict. Israel preserved its faith despite repeated attacks and conspiracies. Persian hostility became a source of spiritual growth and national strength. Prophecies in Daniel and Ezekiel reveal adversities and ultimate divine victory. These narratives teach patience, courage, and unwavering trust in God. Israel consistently maintained spiritual and political existence amid threats. Eastern empires in Israel repeatedly faced one another in historic confrontations. Kings' enmities became instruments for divine lessons and moral instruction. Supportive rulers like Cyrus sometimes altered the course of conflict in Israel's favor. Biblical stories of enmity continue to provide guidance and inspiration. Israel preserved courage and faith across all historical periods. Persian rulers' enmity was a vital component of Israel's testing. Prophets imparted lessons of patience, trust, and reliance on God during adversity. These historical conflicts also provide insights into modern geopolitical challenges. Israel's land and faith always remained supreme in its divine mission. Eastern powers repeatedly confronted Israel in recurring cycles of conflict. Each enmity tested resilience, courage, and steadfastness in faith. Cyrus' assistance sometimes mitigated hostile effects, allowing Israel to endure. Biblical accounts of enmity offer clear, instructive, and educational narratives. Israel preserved faith and strength despite continual attacks and conspiracies. Persian hostilities strengthened spiritual resilience and national determination. Daniel and Ezekiel's prophecies portray adversaries' power and ultimate divine victory. These stories teach unwavering patience, courage, and trust in God's plan. Israel consistently maintained spiritual and political stability throughout history. Eastern powers in Israel remained in constant strategic and spiritual tension. Kings' enmities became instruments of divine testing and moral lessons. Supportive rulers occasionally aided Israel, even amid ongoing hostility. Biblical narratives continue to guide and educate present and future generations. Israel maintained courage and faith throughout every historical challenge. Persian hostility remained an enduring test of endurance and spirituality. Prophets emphasized reliance on God and perseverance during periods of adversity. Historical enmities provide insights into both spiritual and worldly challenges. Protecting Israel's land and faith was always paramount. Eastern empires repeatedly confronted Israel, testing courage and determination. Each confrontation assessed resilience, commitment, and unwavering faith. Assistance from rulers like Cyrus sometimes lessened the destructive impact. Biblical accounts illustrate clear outcomes and instructive lessons from conflicts. Ultimately, these stories teach patience, courage, faith, and the power of God's guidance.